2026 is here, so let's look at what Hollywood's got in store for us over the next 12 months, ranging from horror and sci-fi to superheroes and fantasy to whatever Disney and Pixar have planned. The name of the game these days? Sequels, or prequels, or remakes, or basically anything embedded in a franchise or based on an IP. There are only like 2 or 3 standalone original films tucked away among the 50+ movies here, so let's get to it. The MCU is ready to go super massive with both Spider-Man Brand New Day and Avengers Doomsday, while the DCU is landing a bit softer, but still awesomely with Supergirl and Clayface. Pixar has hoppers in the chamber, but its big shot is Toy Story 5, while Disney rolls the dice with Hexed, while still having a surefire hit with the live-action Moana. Steven Spielberg, Christopher Nolan, Sam Raimi, M. Night Shyamalan all have new flicks this year, while the horror landscape screams loudly with Primate, 28 years later The Bone Temple, Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, Evil Dead Burn, Lee Cronin's The Mummy, Zach Kreger's Resident Evil, and Robert Eggers' Werewolf. Animated fare includes the Super Mario Galaxy movie, Coyote vs. Acme, finally, and only kind of, because there's real people in that one, Minions 3, The Cat in the Hat, and the aforementioned Hexed and Hoppers. So if me just speed reading a list of movies at you doesn't do it for you, here are the movies we can't wait to catch in 2026. The Greenland Gang is back, baby! Well, most of them anyhow, as Gerard Butler and Morena Baccarin return to the bleak, ruined Earth, which suffered global catastrophes in the first movie, to trek across Europe 5 years later in search of a new safe haven for their family. The cast of Greenland 2 Migration includes Amber Rose Riva, William Abadi, and Roman Griffin Davis, who now plays their son Nathan. A family's adopted chimpanzee suddenly becomes violent due to being bitten by a rabid animal in Primate, a murderous ape movie that was all the rage at 2025's Fantastic Fest. So, get ready for the most bananas movie since 1990's Shakma. Filmed back-to-back with 28 years later, but directed by Nia DaCosta in place of Danny Boyle, The Bone Temple will continue the story of Ralph Fiennes' Dr. Kelson, while also diving into the big Jack O'Connell Jimmy cliffhanger featuring Spike meeting the cult leader and his blonde, track-suited karate squad. If you didn't see 28 years later, then that part probably sounded pretty weird. Anyhow, Aaron Taylor Johnson is back too, as well as, finally, Cillian Murphy's Jim. Chris Pratt and Rebecca Ferguson star in Mercy, a dystopian thriller about a detective who has 90 minutes to prove an AI judge that he's innocent of murdering his wife. Directed by Timur Bekmambetov of Night Watch, Wanted, and also that Ice Cube War of the Worlds movie. Writer-director Christoph Gans is back to helm Return to Silent Hill, based on Konami's Silent Hill 2. Jeremy Irvin plays protagonist James Sunderland, while Evie Templeton, who played Laura in the Silent Hill 2 game remake, reprises that role. Do you dare turn to the psychological torment of this small-town nightmare? Do you? Do you dare? After dipping his toe in the MCU with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, director Sam Raimi is back in the small-scale scares business with Send Help, about a mocked and abused office worker who turns the table on her D-bag boss when they wind up stranded on a desert island. Starring Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien, and written by Mark Swift and Damian Shannon of Freddy vs. Jason and 2009's Friday the 13th fame. Liam Neeson's Stranger Things Joe Keery and Barbarian's Georgina Campbell star in Cold Storage, about 2 employees at a self-storage facility built atop a former military base who must deal with a spreading government-sealed parasitic fungus. Written by David Koepp, whose movies include Jurassic Park, Spider-Man, and Black Bag. With an ensemble featuring Chris Hemsworth, Mark Ruffalo, Barry Keoghan, and Halle Berry, Crime 101 tells the tale of an elusive jewel thief known as Davis, who follows a strict code of conduct, the titular Crime 101. Based on a Don Winslow novella, the film is written and directed by Bart Layton. He did that movie American Animals, where Evan Peters stole art. Pretty good. The latest adaptation of Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights, which arrives just in time for Valentine's Day, stars Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi as tragic couple Catherine and Heathcliff. Emerald Fennell, who did Promising Young Woman and Saltburn, puts her own personal spin on this classic gothic drama, with original hit songs coming in hot from Charlie XCX. Gore Verbinski of The Ring and Pirates of the Caribbean fame directs Sam Rockwell in Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die, about a man from the future who recruits patrons at a Los Angeles diner to help combat a rogue artificial intelligence. Also starring Michael Pena, Zazie Beetz, Juno Temple, and Haley Lou Richardson. Seven's Andrew Kevin Walker pins a new serial killer thriller, Psycho Killer, about a highway patrol officer who's determined to track down a sadistic murderer after her husband is taken from her. Barbarian's Georgina Campbell stars alongside Logan Miller and Malcolm McDowell. Scream 7, written and directed by original series scribe Kevin Williamson, enters the franchise amidst some controversy following the firing of star Melissa Barrera and the loss of co-star Jenna Ortega. With the Carpenter sisters gone, the franchise returns once more to Neve Campbell's Sidney Prescott as she faces down a new, but I'm different from the rest, Ghostface. Dead characters are also back in the form of David Arquette, Matthew Lillard, and Scott Foley, perhaps getting the Force Ghost treatment that Skeet Ulrich got in the last two movies. Set in 1930s Chicago, Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Bride follows Frankenstein's monster as he has a companion created for him in the person of men's Jessie Buckley. Jake Gyllenhaal, Peter Sarsgaard, Annette Bening, and Penelope Cruz also star in this Bonnie and Clyde-esque take on The Bride of Frankenstein. One of Pixar's 2026 offerings, a few months ahead of Toy Story 5, comes from We Bare Bears' Daniel Chong. Hoppers follows a teenager, Mabel, who uses a new technology to embody a robotic beaver and thwart a construction company's plot to destroy the local animal habitat. Checks out by me. Other voices include John Hamm, Dimitri Martin, and SNL alums Bobby Moynihan and Melissa Villaseñor. From Cloverfield and Cabin in the Woods, Drew Goddard and directing duo Phil Lord and Christopher Miller comes the story of a teacher-turned-astronaut sent to deep space in order to solve a catastrophic solar event. Ryan Gosling stars in Project Hail Mary, a sci-fi adventure based on Andy Weir's 2021 bestseller. Sandra Hüller, Milana Weintraub, Ken Leung, and the Bears, Lionel Boyce, also star. The follow-up to 2023's billion-dollar hit, the Super Mario Galaxy movie, brings Chris Pratt, Anya Taylor-Joy, Charlie Day, Jack Black, and Keegan Michael Key based on 2007's Super Mario Galaxy for the Wii, and possibly other Mario properties as well. Newcomers include Benny Safdie as Bowser Jr. and Brie Larson as Rosalina. Radio Silence's directors Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillett, with executive producer Chad Villella, have returned to the horror romp that put them on the map and got them Scream 5 and 6 gigs. With Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, Samara Weaving is also back as Grace, now joined by Sarah Michelle Gellar, as well as Abigail's Catherine Newton and Kevin Durand. Add to that the faculty Sean Hitosi and Elijah Wood and director David Cronenberg, and you're on track for a splattery good time. The Mummy. No, not that one. Ahead of The Mummy 4, which will bring back franchise stars Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz, Blumhouse and James Wan's latest Universal Monster update, even though this is technically for New Line, is Lee Cronin's The Mummy, as the Evil Dead Rise director looks to untomb some sinister scares with this classic cursed character. Midsommar's Jack Rayner, Moon Knight's May Kalamai, and The Wheel of Time's Leia Costa star. Antoine Fuqua's much-anticipated Michael Jackson biopic moonwalks into theaters ahead of the summer movie season, with the King of Pop being portrayed by Jackson's real nephew, Jafar Jackson. Written by John Logan, who also wrote Gladiator and The Aviator, Michael also features Coleman Domingo as Michael's abusive father Joe, Nia Long as Michael's mother, and Miles Teller as lawyer John Branca. Meryl Streep, Anne Hathaway, Stanley Tucci, and Emily Blunt are all back 20 years later for The Devil Wears Prada 2, based on the novel Revenge Wears Prada: The Devil Returns by Lauren Weisberger. This time they're joined by Kenneth Branagh, Lucy Liu, Justin Theroux, Sydney Sweeney, and Lady Gaga. Originally slated for October of 2025, Mortal Kombat 2, featuring The Boys and Star Trek's Carl Urban as Johnny Cage, will flawlessly land on May 8th. Cage will join the fight against the rule of Shao Kahn, whose rise threatens the survival of Earthrealm and its defenders. Other new characters include Adeline Rudolph as Katana, Tati Gabrielle as Jade, Damon Harriman as Quan Chi, Martin Ford as Shao Kahn, Anna Thu Win as Sindel, and CJ Bloomfield as Baraka. The first Star Wars film since 2019's The Rise of Skywalker will bring Jon Favreau's Mandalorian to the big screen, but will what worked so well on Disney Plus strike box office gold, and was the 7-year pause better for the brand? Written by Jon Favreau and Lucasfilm Chief Creative Officer Dave Filoni, The Mandalorian and Grogu track Din Djarin and Baby Yoda, taking on legit contract work for the New Republic. And let's not forget Sigourney Weaver joining the cast, as well as Jeremy Allen White as Jabba the Hutt's son, Rada. Ryan Reynolds, Jason Momoa, Vince Vaughn, and Aubrey Plaza star in this live-action animation tale about the two on-the-run animals who sure look to be a horse and a bear being pursued while on an adventure across America. At long last, a new live-action He-Man movie, Masters of the Universe, follows Prince Adam as he returns to Eternia after 2 decades away to wield the power sword of Grayskull and battle Jared Leto's Skeletor. Alison Brie will play Evelyn, Idris Elba is Man-at-Arms, Camila Mendez is Tila, and Morena Baccarin is the Sorceress. Will this new version have the power that the 80s iteration lacked? Icon Steven Spielberg returns to extraterrestrial territory with Disclosure Day. Emily Blunt, Josh O'Connor, Colin Firth, Eve Hewson, Coleman Domingo, and Wyatt Russell fill out the cast of this UFO thriller, which dropped the clickiest weather report in recent memory as a trailer that's got us as excited for a Spielberg film as we've been in some time. Frequent collaborator David Koepp wrote the screenplay, while the legendary John Williams scores. It'll have been 13 years since a scary movie last made us bust a gut, but now the Wayans brothers have a full decade of horror flicks to lampoon in Scary Movie 6, like Heretic, Nope, Get Out, Longlegs, and more. Anna Faris and Regina Hall are even back, reprising their roles from the first 4 films. Will post-Toy Story 3 Toy Story movies continue to be diminishing returns, or have they finally cracked the code to continuing this franchise? Either way, a billion-dollar haul is all but guaranteed as Pixar's Andrew Stanton takes the reins here, bringing us back into the world of Bonnie, now 8 years old, and her obsession with a new toy, a frog-like tablet named Lilypad. Tom Hanks, Tim Allen, and Joan Cusack are all back for Toy Story 5, as well as Tony Hale's Forky. Supergirl, based on Tom King's comic miniseries Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, is the next DCU film to leap tall buildings in a single bound. We met Millie Alcock's Kara Zor-El in Superman, having returned from a galactic bender to claim her pooch, Krypto. But now we'll watch her celebrate her 21st birthday in Party Girl style, encountering a tragedy along the way that leads her on a murderous quest for revenge. Belgian actor Matthias Schoenaerts is on hand as the villainous Krim of the Yellow Hills, while the teaser gave us our first shadowy glimpse of Jason Momoa as Lobo. After 4 Despicable Me films and 2 Minions spin-offs, it's time for Minions 3. And we don't know a damn thing about it except that it was bumped up from its original 2027 release date, and that Pierre Coffin will continue to voice those little yellow rascals. No plot yet, no cast yet, just hang tight. Just a year after Moana 2, we're getting the live-action Moana remake starring Dwayne Johnson as the role he voices in the animated films Maui. Catherine Lagaea portrays Moana in a retelling that is sure to rake in a ton of cash. The live-action Lilo and Stitch is the top-grossing American movie of 2025 globally as of this writing, by the way. Christopher Nolan is one of the few directors nowadays that can put butts in seats just on his name alone. But how will The Odyssey fare on its own? Unpaired with a tonally opposite film like Barbie? Maybe it should have shared theaters with Moana to create a Mo-Odyssey phenomenon. Regardless, the cast is stacked with Nolan players Matt Damon, Anne Hathaway, Robert Pattinson, and Elliot Page, anchoring newcomers to the director's realm like Tom Holland, Zendaya, Lupita Nyong'o, Charlize Theron, Jon Bernthal, and more. Oh, and I hear the source material is pretty solid too. The Deadites are back to swallow our souls in Evil Dead Burn. From director Sebastian Banachek, introducing a French protagonist who faces a new, brutal supernatural threat, the main plot of the film is still under wraps. Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell, and Rob Tappert continue to produce like they've done with all Evil Dead incarnations. At one point, briefly, Avengers Doomsday was releasing before Spider-Man 4, but now things got flipped and whipped. Shang-Chi director Destin Daniel Cretton takes over the Spidey saga from John Watts as the film, as indicated by the Brand New Day title, and how it relates to the comics, deals with Peter Parker's life post-Peter Parker erasure. Jon Bernthal's The Punisher joins the mix, as well as actress Sadie Sink, who some fans think is playing Punisher protege Rachel Cole Alves. Plus, Mark Ruffalo is back as Hulk, Michael Mando returns as Mac Gargan/Scorpion, and Marvin Jones III will be Tombstone. Oh, and of course, Zendaya and Jacob Batalon are back as MJ and Ned. Untitled Insidious 6, another movie that doesn't even need a title. The sixth Insidious movie, not counting the spin-off Jeremy Slater's Thread, An Insidious Tale with Mandy Moore and Kumail Nanjiani, which doesn't have a release date yet, is poised to pop in August of 2026. It stars Nope's Brandon Perea, Legends of Tomorrow's Maisie Richardson Sellers, and Insidious franchise powerhouse Lin Shaye. This is the one I'm most excited for. The live-action animation hybrid caper that became ground zero in the debate over the nefarious streaming landscape and the contempt for artists and performers in the eyes of greedy CEOs after the unceremonious disposal of Batgirl had lit the flame, will finally have its day in theaters. With a story by Sammy Birch, James Gunn, and Jeremy Slater, Coyote vs. Acme follows Wile E. Coyote as he sues the Acme Corporation for repeatedly selling him allegedly faulty products. John Cena, Will Forte, Lana Condor, PJ Byrne, Tone Bell, and Martha Kelly represent the human cast, with the full breadth of Looney Tunes characters filling out the rest. A slight detour in the DCU is happening because, well, The Haunting of Hill House's Mike Flanagan had an idea for a standalone movie and wrote a whole Clayface script heavily influenced by the character's portrayal in Batman the Animated Series' two-part episode Feet of Clay. Now, Clayface does exist in the DCU already, as he was voiced by Alan Tudyk in Creature Commandos, which not only is canon but is part of James Gunn's experiment of mostly casting the same actors in both animated and live-action forms. And we saw Frank Grillo already make that leap as Rick Flag Sr. in Peacemaker Season 2. Tom Rhys-Harries will play Clayface in the movie, though. Of course, this kind of breaks Gunn's crossover rule because he did say mostly, but we also could be dealing with multiple Clayfaces, aka the Mud Pack. Tudyk also played Silly Clayface on the Harley Quinn series, but yeah, that's not the version we're dealing with now. James Watkins of Eden Lake at Speak No Evil will direct. Though he terrified us with both Barbarian and Weapons, writer-director and sketch comedian Zach Kreger is a video game addict at heart, loving the Resident Evil series so much that he basically has free reign with his version of it. His take on the storied series comes out in September and stars Austin Abrams, Paul Walter Hauser, Zach Cherry, and Callie Reese. Sure, there are already 7 Paul W.S. Anderson Resident Evil movies, and in the last 4 years there was another movie, Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City, and a Netflix series. But given Kreger's track record, this reboot is the one we really want to see. Though the original Practical Magic was a dud at the box office and mostly maligned by critics, it's grown as a Halloween season cult classic over the last couple of decades. Enough so that a full sequel is coming, complete with Owen sisters Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman, and their aunts Stockard Channing and Diane Weist. It looks like Joey King is playing the older Kylie Owens instead of Evan Rachel Wood, who said they never asked her to come back, while Game of Thrones' Maisie Williams will play Alexandra. Lee Pace and Cobra Kai's Zolo Maraduena also star in Practical Magic 2. Taking place years after the events of Avatar: The Last Airbender and before The Legend of Korra, The Legend of Aang: The Last Airbender will follow the series' main characters, Aang, Toph, Katara, Sokka, and Zuko, now voiced by Steven Yeun, in their adult years. Dave Bautista will voice the movie's Big Bad. Most films on this list are sequels or part of a larger franchise, but let it be known that even lauded Oscar-winning movies aren't immune to the errant follow-up. Enter The Social Reckoning, a sequel to David Fincher's The Social Network, this time written and directed by Aaron Sorkin, who wrote the first film. Succession's Jeremy Strong takes over the Mark Zuckerberg role, leading an ensemble featuring Jeremy Allen White, Mikey Madison, Bill Burr, Wunmi Musaku, Betty Gilpin, Portia Doubleday, and more. The story is based on the 2021 Facebook leak by whistleblower Francis Hagen, where we learned that the social media giant was aware of harmful societal effects from its platforms, yet did nothing. The third live-action Street Fighter movie, if anyone remembers Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li, has a fun, stacked cast with Jason Momoa, 50 Cent, Noah Centineo, WWE stars Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes as Akuma and Guile respectively, and David Dastmalchian as M. Bison. Set in 1993, estranged Street Fighters Ryu and Ken are thrown back into combat when the mysterious Chun-Li recruits them for the next World Warrior tournament. Also, Orville Peck plays Vega. M. Night Shyamalan's latest will hit right in time for Halloween, featuring Jake Gyllenhaal as a New York architect who heads to Cape Cod to design a summer home for his best friend, seeking a fresh start after being treated for acute depression. Still mourning his sister's death, he meets Ren, a young woman who disrupts his carefully ordered world. Remain is based on an idea Shyamalan conceived with author Nicholas Sparks, who separately wrote the novel version of the same story. Bill Hader voices the title character, the classic Dr. Seuss scamp, as he takes on his toughest assignment yet, to cheer up Gabby and Sebastian, a pair of siblings struggling with their move to a new town. Giancarlo Esposito, America Ferrera, Bowen Yang, Matt Berry, and Quinta Brunson also star in this new take on The Cat in the Hat. What's director Ty West up to after thrilling us with his ex-Pearl Maxine hat trick? Why, he's diving into Charles Dickens and giving Johnny Depp his first major American studio starring role since 2018's Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. Depp will play Scrooge, joined by Sir Ian McKellen, Andrea Riseborough, and Severance's Trammell Tillman as the ghost of Christmas Present. Director Francis Lawrence returns to the Hunger Games verse after taking a brief dystopian break with The Long Walk to adapt Suzanne Collins' prequel novel Sunrise on the Reaping. This time we learn all about young Hamish Abernathy's time and victory in the 50th Hunger Games, the second Quarter Quell, which requires double the number of tributes from each district. Joseph Zada plays 16-year-old Hamish, joined by McKenna Grace and The Long Walk's Ben Wang. Ralph Fiennes is on hand as a middle-aged President Coriolanus Snow, while Jesse Plemons plays a young Plutarch Heavensbee. Elle Fanning portrays a young Elfie Trinket, and Kieran Culkin embodies a youthful Caesar Flickerman. Ben Stiller is more of a behind-the-camera guy these days, what with his acclaimed miniseries Escape at Dannemora and Apple TV's Severance. But the comedy legend is returning to one of his biggest Focking franchises with the fourth Fokker flick, Fokker-in-Law. Stiller, Robert De Niro, Owen Wilson, Blythe Danner, and Terry Polo are all back for this new comedy of errors, while adding Superman's Skylar Gisondo as son Henry. Ariana Grande, Beanie Feldstein, and Eduardo Franco also star. Disney's animated entry this year is Hexed, following a teenage oddball and his mom who discover that his weirdness is actually hidden magic, transporting them to a world where magic can run free. The cast is unknown at this time, but the directors are Josie Trinidad and Jason Hand, who did Moana 2. David Harbour reprises his role as a rough-and-tumble, take-no-shit Santa Claus, this time stranded in a New Jersey mall and cut off from the North Pole while facing down a local crime lord and his goons. Violent Night 2 also stars Jared Harris, Joe Pantoliano, The Suicide Squad's Daniela Melchior, and AEW's MJF, with Kristen Bell on board as Mrs. Claus. No doubt that untitled sequel will end up having some sort of video game pun in the title, but for now, the next Dwayne Johnson, Kevin Hart Jumanji movie from a series which has traditionally cleaned up during the holidays is slated for December. We don't know anything about this fifth Jumanji chapter, or fourth if you're just counting the Rock timeline, or third if you don't include Zathura. Except that Johnson, Hart, Jack Black, and Karen Gillan are all back, and that it's the final Jumanji film from this quartet. With the MCU's Kang pivot, Disney backed up a huge truck of cash and got both Robert Downey Jr. and the Russo brothers back for an Avengers movie that was once supposed to be called The Kang Dynasty, and directed by Destin Daniel Cretton. Instead, it's now about our assembled heroes trying to save the world and the multiverse from Dr. Doom, who we assume has kidnapped baby Franklin Richards and is using the Tot's power cosmic to rewrite reality. The cast here is too big to list, so just know that everyone's coming back. Everyone. Even the Fox franchise X-Men. Even people that weren't listed on those director's chairs. There's gotta be more director's chairs. Denis Villeneuve will tackle Frank Herbert's 1969 novel Dune Messiah, essentially ending the director's Dune trilogy. Dune Part 3 will bring in Anya Taylor-Joy fully as Paul's sister Aaliyah, as well as introduce Paul's twin children, Leto II and Ghanima. Robert Pattinson is also in the fray now as the villain Scytale. Side note, it's bananas that Avengers and Dune are opening on the same day, as of right now. Who's gonna blink? Sandworm or Robert Downey Jr.? Director Robert Eggers is following up his Nosferatu remake with another creature feature, bringing back Nosferatu players Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Lily Rose Depp, Willem Dafoe, and Ralph Ineson for a werewolf film, Werewolf. Unlike Nosferatu, though, this is not a retelling of a classic movie, but instead a story set in 13th century England, and with all dialogue in Middle English, as a mysterious creature stalks a foggy countryside full of terrified villagers. Eggers has said of the script that it's the darkest story he's written so far, so Merry Christmas, everybody. Streamers can be pretty coy with announcing their original content, but here's what we know right now is coming in 2026. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck star opposite each other in their 12th film together in Joe Carnahan's The Rip, about Miami cops who discover a stash of millions in cash leading to distrust and betrayal. What else would it lead to? Writer-director Greta Gerwig's post-Barbie offering is Narnia the Magician's Nephew, which will get a brief theatrical release prior to streaming, based on the 6th book in the Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis and a prequel to the other 5 books. The film stars Emma Mackey, Carey Mulligan, Daniel Craig, and Denise Gough. Greta Lee and Wagner Moura star in this sci-fi horror film about a family who become inexplicably trapped inside their home and must work together to survive and figure out what is keeping them combined. Stranger Things' Millie Bobby Brown is back as Sherlock Holmes' younger sister in a third adventure, co-starring Louis Partridge, Himesh Patel, Helena Bonham Carter, and Henry Cavill as Sherlock. Ben Affleck directs and stars in Animals, a kidnapping thriller which also features Gillian Anderson, Kerry Washington, Stephen Yeun, Adriana Paz, and Ray Fisher. Robert De Niro stars in this crime thriller about a widowed father who, after his own son is abducted, enlists the help of his estranged father, a retired detective, to get him back. Michelle Monaghan, Adam Scott, Michael Keaton, John Carroll Lynch, Hamish Linklater, and Owen Teague also star. Ben Stiller and Jake Johnson star in this new comedy about an aging tennis pro who must play pickleball to save a local club. This biography of disability rights activist Judith Heumann stars Reith Madeley, Mark Ruffalo, Dylan O'Brien, Rob Delaney, and Ray Fisher. This dark comedy, directed by Jonah Hill, stars Keanu Reeves as a blackmailed actor who tries to make amends with those he has wronged in the past in order to figure out who the blackmailer is. Hill, Cameron Diaz, Matt Bomer, David Spade, and Laverne Cox also star. And if that's not an exhaustive list of movies that we're even a little bit interested in seeing in 2026, I'm honestly not sure what you want from me. But I'll bet we're going to be talking about all of them over the next year or so, so be sure to stay right here and subscribe to IGN wherever you like to watch.